Alrighty, let me hit the comments. Give it a few minutes for everybody to come on.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have some good ones tonight. I'm pretty sure
Cool.
we do. Man, there's a lot of different. I picked a different bunch. Hello, everyone. How you doing? Monday night. God, night before Halloween. Imagine that. God, went by quick, didn't it? Joining me is our friend, dream interpretation expert. Hello, Luann. How are you? Jefferson. Jefferson, how are you? It's been a while.
I'm doing well. How about you?
Not doing too bad. We're crazy busy. Getting ready for the expo this weekend. Lots to do.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? I see everyone's on. Okay. For those of you who don't know and haven't watched this before, I'm gonna let Jefferson kind of introduce himself, give a little bit of his background and how he got into doing what he does, and then we have two people on the backstage already, but I think we're going to try to get to 3, hopefully 4, but we'll see how it goes with Jefferson. But take it away, Jefferson.
So, well, if you haven't seen the show before, I'm a dream interpreter, and I've been doing this for 30 years professionally. And I did a radio show for 10 years where people called into the show and I interpreted their dreams live on the air. And I've done several shows now with John and Chris where we do the same thing on Facebook Live, which is great. I guess I'll answer whatever questions as they come in. Most people here know who I am, so.
Well, for a little bit of a background, explain that. Again, we got into this all the times that we've done this before.
Yeah.
Do most dreams mean something, or are there only specific dreams that have meaning that's relevant to unresolved issues or things from the past?
That's a great question. There's a lot of information out there all the time, and we can only absorb so much. So really the question isn't so much is the dream worth interpreting, it's more does the dream catch your attention? Does it ping your intuition? If it does, then yes, absolutely. If it doesn't, not necessarily. I mean, we have enough going on in our day, and we need to be able to get through that, fairly sane anyway. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are, um, clear-headed, that we're able to really think clearly. If you start over interpreting everything around you, it can get exhausting. So,
Right.
Your intuition's a very clear and simple software. It is a simple software of a signal of either comfort or discomfort. If it's uncomfortable, move away from it. If it's comfortable, move toward it. If you get a ping that says, I need to interpret this dream, or geez, what did that mean? Or maybe I need to call Jefferson, whatever, that then that one is worth interpreting. If you get one that's just a bunch of random pictures and images and scenes and people that you may or may not know, and there's no plot line, and it just seems to be all over the place. I call that dream salad. It's like everything gets thrown in the bowl and mix around, and it's not necessarily something that's worth looking at in terms of interpretation. I call it defragging the hard drive. If your computer gets too sluggish, you need to delete files. You need applications. Same with your brain. Your brain works the same way.
It's just
As a matter of fact, the computer itself is a mimic of nature. So they work on the same principle.
Here, we've done this before many times. You've done it. You've had interpreted a dream of mine, Chris, lots of others, and it's always been fascinating. The ones that do have meaning and that do have unresolved issues that you put it so good. The last time we did this and we were talking about this, you were saying how if there's unresolved issues throughout your life, even childhood, as you grow, they're somehow, some way going to bubble to the surface if they're not resolved. And dreams are a way where they really kind of, your subconscious or whatever puts it right in front of you again and says, hey, here it is, still there. You haven't taken care of this. Or
that's what illness is about. It's what pain is about. If you have signals coming from your body, they originate somewhere. There's an origin point. There's always an origin point. If you have a recurring dream, you had it once first before you had it many other times. What triggered it? What triggers a thought that over time becomes something in your body. The thought itself is a physical entity. So when you have the thought, and this is proven by science, there are physical reactions in your body. You have you make molecules of different chemicals. There's hormones. There's a particular part of your brain that lights up. It sends a message to a particular part of your body using those chemicals. So, if you have a fight or flight response, that that reaction is caused by the thought you've had. There's a bear in front of me. Oh my God! And your adrenal glands kick in, and your cortisol rises, and your breath and your breathing changes. So all of that happened. Your muscles, tighten because it's like you're getting ready. Oh my God, I have to run, or I have to freeze, whichever. But that reaction is based on one thought. Every other thought has a corresponding chemistry and physicality to it, and it is sent to a particular part of the body. Now, when you have too many of those thoughts over time, they affect the body either in a good or a bad way. So if you're holding a newborn baby, that's elation, that is joy. What you're pouring endorphins through your bloodstream. It's wonderful. It keeps you younger. It keeps you happier. If you have something happen that's traumatic or sad or angry or frightening, it's a very different set of chemistry. And so that affects your body as well. That's why childhood trauma is such a big issue psychologically,
Right.
because if you don't deal with it, you
Right.
think to yourself, well, I'm just going to forget about it. But your body doesn't. Your
Yeah.
body is still maintaining the physicality. The same thing is true for a recurring dream. The reason that things recur in our thoughts is because we haven't dealt with the initial issue. If we leave it alone and we walk away from it and we figure, oh, it'll just, I'll ignore it, the body itself remembers.
Right.
And so it's healthier for you to remember your dreams and to examine them and to interpret them. And if you put that kind of importance and seriousness on your dreams, your life will be much better. You will have a much better life. You will be healthier. You will be more balanced. Uh, Everything will open up in a different way for you because you are actively conversing with the universe. It's a conversation. If you see a dream as a movie, well, who's the actor? Who's the director? Who's the screenwriter? Who's the projectionist? Who's the audience? The fact is, at some different point in all of it, you are all of those people
Right.
looking at life through a different metaphoric, symbolic conversation. So you have the opportunity to choose who you're going to be in each dream. And you can be more than one. You can see yourself in the dream, so you're watching the movie while you're having the reactions in the dream. So, but all of that is true at the same time.
Yeah.
Physical laws apply.
And again, the many times that we've done this, the one
Mhm.
thing that I take away from it is sometimes the message isn't what you originally assumed it was by trying to interpret your own dreams. I've been
Yeah.
guilty of that. And it's also therapeutic and almost a form of counseling. When we've done this,
Yes.
the many times that we've done this,
Mhm.
a lot of truth comes out, and I give all the people all the credit in the world that are going to do this tonight that have done this in
Yeah.
the past, because
I
there's a
agree.
lot of personal deep stuff. So we're going to jump right in. The way we're
Yes.
going to do this is I'm going to bring on the first person with
Okay.
Jefferson and myself, introduce the two of them, and then I'm going to go off screen, and Jefferson is going to be able to communicate back and forth, ask the questions that he needs to ask, and do the interpretation. So I'll bring on guest number one here, who is ready. There we go. There she
Hello.
is. Hey,
Hi.
so Pat, Jefferson, Pat,
Hi.
I'm going to get off screen,
Hi,
and
Pat.
How are
Jefferson
you?
is going to take it from here. Okay.
So this is interesting. Like before, we had to do it over the phone, and Chris read the interpretations. Now it's you're here with us. That's great.
Yes.
So okay. So tell me your dream.
Well, I had a dream last Thursday night.
Mhm.
Should I tell you the background of who it was or no?
Absolutely. Yeah. The more information you give me, the more I can interpret.
Okay. So it was my son who passed away like 6.5 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the
How old?
dream was I
Oh,
was
Pat, this is going to be interactive. I'm going to ask you questions throughout. How old was your
okay.
son?
He was 25.
Okay. May I ask what happened?
He passed from an overdose.
Okay. Good.
So The dream was that I was in a room, and I'm not sure
Mhm.
if it was my house, but to my left was his coffin. And my daughter was with me to the right, and there was like people kind of walking around. And I looked over at my son, and he looked like his head was moving a little. And I thought, oh, it's just a reaction from, like dying or something.
Right.
And I was trying to make my daughter not look, but then it kept getting worse and worse. And he was like trying to open his eyes and trying to open his mouth. And inside was all black in his mouth and his eyes. And he couldn't open it, obviously. And his face was like all squished in pain. And I was just trying to keep my daughter from looking. And then suddenly, I think it stopped because I don't remember how it stopped. But then all of a sudden, he said, "I love you, mommy." And then I woke up.
Yeah. Wow. That's a pretty intense dream, my dear.
Yeah.
This took place in your house? Like the dream itself, I mean, not where
I
you
think
passed.
so. I couldn't tell if it was my house or a funeral home, but I think it was my house.
Okay. Do you have any idea of what room in your house?
No, if I had to guess, I would say the living room, but my old house, not the house that I live in now.
Okay, tell me about the house you lived in then. Was that where he lived?
Yes, but he was not living with me at the time, but he did grow up there
Okay. So did you moved after he passed or before?
after.
Okay. Was that part of why you moved?
Excuse me?
Was that part of why you moved? Because
No, I just decided to sell my house.
okay, okay. How long ago did you move?
A little over 2 years ago.
Okay. What was his name?
Christopher.
Mhm. What did he do?
At the time, he was working in an electrical company in sales, like electrical for big contractors.
Hmm. Okay. Is there any other information you can tell me about him?
Like what?
Just characteristics. Was he talkative with you? Did you have a close relationship?
Yeah, I mean, it was rocky for the last few years with, his issue.
Yeah.
Um,
So
but
he was
yeah,
addicted?
excuse me?
He was addicted?
Yes. Yeah, it
To
went
what?
on for quite a few years.
What was he
Um,
addicted to?
hmm?
What was he addicted to?
Oh, heroin.
Okay.
So, but he passed from fentanyl.
Oh, so many
Yeah.
people doing
Yeah.
that. I'm so sorry.
He was always the one joking. Everything was a joke to him. Nothing was serious. He makes himself known a lot to me and to people I know. He'll leave a penny and a dime places because his number was 11 when he played hockey in high school. So
Okay.
you'll randomly find a dime or a penny, and I've told other people about it, and then they
Mhm.
have found the dime and penny.
Yeah. Yeah, once you start
Um,
noticing something,
when did I start that?
No, I said once
Um,
you start noticing something, it starts coming up a lot. But since you asked it, yes, when did you start noticing that?
not too long after he passed, within the first year.
What
His
what
girlfriend
date
was the one who,
what date did he pass?
February 19th, 2017.
219. Okay. Hang on one second. I just want to 219.
I've had dreams of him in the past, just never anything this horrific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you had this dream, what was going on in your life?
In my life. Oh,
Yeah.
well, he's been on my mind a lot lately.
And why is that?
Um,
Because it's not the time of year. What brought him up this time?
well, it is leading into the holidays, so I start getting more, upset. But like I just bought a car in August and I was looking for a car and I was not sure if I wanted it. And then when I looked at the VIN, the last four digits of the VIN was his birthday,
Mm,
2192. So I had to
wow.
buy the car.
Wow.
Um, and just other things like he's just been popping into my mind a lot. I could just
Mhm.
be driving and I'll see people walking and they maybe look like they have an issue and like it'll make me think of him.
Yeah.
So he has been on my mind a lot.
So what was his birthday?
His birthday was February 1st, 1992.
So he died just 18 days after his birthday.
Right.
Okay, so the reason that you're having this dream now is because he's looking to get in touch with you, to communicate with you. Has he been in your dreams before?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had dreams of,
Okay.
and, I'll remember them vividly when I wake up, but, like,
Yeah.
I don't think I can even remember one right now,
Oh, that's okay.
but
That's okay.
they've always just been
Um,
just random.
do you journal them?
No, I don't.
Okay, I would advise that you start doing that, and I'll give you a way to do that that's faster than writing it down.
Okay,
Um, and the reason that I say that is because this dream indicates that he's trying to tell you something, but he
okay,
feels blocked somehow. Now, that block can be something on your end or on his end.
okay,
So usually when people who have passed, if you want them to enter your dreams and they aren't coming, it's because they're waiting for you to invite them.
okay.
And I think that considering what he was going through, that he had this addiction, you said that his eyes and his mouth were dark
Yeah,
on
like
the
he
inside.
couldn't open them.
Well, when you say dark though, that's a visual. What do you mean by that?
Like, literally, when he was, like, squishing his face, trying real hard and, like, moving his
Mhm,
head to open his eyes and his mouth, it
mhm.
could open a little bit, and it was just black, like, hollow, black, empty.
Yeah. So keep in mind that all of what you're seeing physically in your dream is not physical. Physical laws don't apply in dreams, okay? They're metaphors, they're symbols indicating something else. In this case, it sounds to me like either so first off, he's spirit now, he's energy. So the person that you knew is still there, but at the same time has evolved, has moved on. He's just light. So he has no judgment over you or anything going on now, and he is evolved from where he was.
Okay,
So what he's doing for you now is communicating something that he wanted you to know, but either he's perceiving or you're perceiving that when he was here those last few years when he was addicted, that there was a lot of darkness.
right, yeah, a lot.
Having Yeah, exactly. And so he's having trouble expressing what he wants to say to you because of that darkness. That it
Okay,
as a wall, as a roadblock between the two of you. And so if you can clear that perception, because it's just a perception, there's no such thing as reality. Reality, yeah, we all agree to what's physical. If we step off a tall building, we'll fall.
mhm,
But in terms of what reality actually is for us individually, it's different for every one of us. There is no one set reality. And so at this moment, the reality that you're sensing is that he feels blocked from you for some reason. Now, that could be within you or within him, but the
okay,
remedy is the same, which is that you give him permission. You allow
mhm,
him to be whatever he may be and reveal whatever he wants to reveal to you. And basically, what I would do is I would go and get a greeting card and or make one. And what you're going to do is you're going to write out a specific invitation to Christopher, and you're going to say to him, "I know you love me. You know how deeply I love you, and I want to be able to connect with you. And I sense that you're here telling me something at a time when I'm really deeply thinking of you, and I'm saddened by the you not being here. So I
okay,
appreciate that you came to me, and I see that you're trying to tell me something and that it's somehow blocked. So I want you to know it's not blocked on my end. I'm okay with this. Let's talk. And
mhm,
let's sit and have a cup of tea at the kitchen table and we'll talk. And in other words, what you're doing is you're allowing both he and you the perception that the door's open.
okay,
And then your subconscious is going to allow you more freely to allow him in. If you state in the invitation specifically, let's just talk about things in a loving way, whatever it may be, that we love each other more than anything else,
mhm,
and whatever it is, we can talk about it. Then when you approach it from that point of view, from kindness, from that point of view, you can't lose. If there's
okay,
something that he wanted you to know before he passed, he didn't get a chance to tell you, that's the way to find it out, isn't it?
right,
And if it's something on your end that you're seeing that what happened to him was so dark, and so you're perceiving the darkness in his eyes and his mouth,
right,
then that's something you need to release as well. And so by giving him permission, you do the same thing. You're saying, I'm okay with this. Whatever's keeping you from being able to communicate with me, let's set it aside spiritually, and I'm okay with you coming in and talking to me. And if you are genuinely feeling that, then he's going to come. So you take the invitation, you put it in the envelope, you put it under your pillow, and you sleep with it. And you wake up in the morning and you read it, and you go to bed. Before you go to bed, you pull it out of the envelope and you read that too. And what will
Okay.
happen over time is your subconscious will open up to this, and he will come. And
Okay.
then when that happens, record the dream. And as I said, I'll give you a way to do that that's quicker. Instead of writing it down with a pencil, you take the pencil first, you pick that up, and it's like, okay, now that's a physical event. You put it on the paper, that's a physical event. You're pulling your consciousness into physical reality from the dream state. And so you lose more detail. If you just take your phone and go to your recorder app, your voice
Right.
recorder, and just hit that and talk, it's a faster way of getting everything down. And you don't need to necessarily remember every detail, but speak as much as you can and then transcribe it later in the day, and you will find more of the dream will come back to you at that point. And then when you
Okay.
have that dream written, then call me and we'll do a session about it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Pat,
You're very welcome.
Pat, I thank you for coming on. I am sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
It makes complete sense to me what Jefferson is saying, though, as far as the unresolved issues because of what was going on at the time, and I believe, and I'm not an expert like Jefferson, but I do believe, like he's saying, subconsciously, if you were to write that card, that, like he said, in your subconscious, it will kind of open that door and maybe make that communication easier.
Yeah.
I will definitely do it.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. I really
You're very
appreciate
welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.
it. Take
Touch.
care.
Bye-bye.
Wow. Okay. Again, I was listening while you were doing that, and how hard is that for you to interpret between the reality of the situation and then to kind of hone in on the dream aspects of symbolism compared to emotion and what the person is really dealing with, like you said, reality versus the symbolism? How do you separate that to, okay, logic tells me this based on emotion and what the symbolism means?
Yeah. Well, keep in mind that skepticism is as much an imbalance as overly optimistic. That if you take any one belief and you take it to its extreme, it's an imbalance.
Right.
You have to look at everything from both sides. And skepticism is there in order to say, well, what part of this is real? But then there's also that sense that you're looking at something and you want to give it its full due.
Right.
That there's something else going on there. I mean, if I was a complete skeptic, I might think that there is no meaning to any dream, or that because it's interpretation, and this is true, it is interpretation, therefore it's what I'm interpreting of the dream. She may get something else.
Right.
Most people come to me and they start out by saying, well, I interpret my own dreams. And what I say to them is that's great, you should, and more power to you, but you will get a different result having someone else, especially somebody who's been doing it as long as I have, do that for you, because they will see things that you don't see.
Yeah.
When you are looking at your own dream, you're seeing something that is personal to you.
Yep.
And the people inside of it are personal to you. When I look at it, I'm unbiased because I'm not seeing that same, I didn't raise a 25-year-old son who then got addicted to drugs and passed.
Right.
So I don't have the same emotional connection with that, but I'm a human being. I have empathy. So I do sense what she's feeling, and when I do this, I channel. So I'm actually reading her energy and her intuition. And that's where my information comes from, is from her.
Yeah.
But it's partly what she says, but it's also just her presence. And it allows me to see the parts of it you don't see. So the way I describe it is, if I'm looking at you, it's hard to do on a camera here because I notice as I'm looking at your picture, my eyes aren't centered looking at the audience. But it's hard to balance that, honestly. But when I'm looking at you directly, eye to eye like this, and we're having a conversation, then our attention is directly on each other.
Right.
And let's say we're at a diner and a waitress comes over to the table and we're talking really intensely, and she says, she's standing there waiting for us to order. And I turn and go, oh, okay, let me, give you my order. You'll pause the conversation. You'll wait for me. And in that time, information is still happening. I'm still processing what you told me. I'm telling her what she needs to know. Multiple things are happening simultaneously. And in that moment, I'm you're waiting for me. That's what the universe is doing. Again,
Right.
it's a conversation. So who's on the other end of the conversation? Your higher self, heaven, God, the universe, call it Louise. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's just that whatever that is, you're acknowledging that there is a conversation happening and that therefore you are willing to participate in it. That's what I was saying to Pat. If you're willing to do this as an
Yep.
exercise and participate in it, then you'll get results.
Right.
If you see it as something that's outside of you that you have no control over, you're missing the fact that they're your dreams.
Right.
You're the one having them. You're the one who's invited this person in. You're the one who sees them in this scenario. There's a reason for that. It's symbolic. Now, that what I did for her was a very surface interpretation of
Right.
that.
Right.
Just the fact that it was in the living room and he's not.
Yeah, I know.
There's so many layers to what I could interpret from just the little bit that she told me.
Eh,
But it's we have a time limit.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting to. Again, from my perspective, as I sit and watch, it is I like most, lead with my heart and I listen to her, what happened. But again, you being an expert at this, you're able to just lock in and focus on the aspects of, again, the blackness and and I find that fascinating on my end. And again, for her to receive that message through, like you said, objectively through a different filter that's not hers, I think is important. I'm going to bring on. Go ahead. I'll bring on the next person. You finish your thought.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's so many other layers, like I could interpret the black eyes a different way, but it would still come down to the same conclusion, which is that it's what she was seeing in her son, which was something was preventing him from being able to communicate with her clearly.
Okay, I need my glasses for the name. Oh, Colleen. Okay.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Colleen, I'm going to do the same thing. Jefferson. I don't know if you watched that last reading or not, if you were able to do that.
Yes. Yep.
But it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to jump off and then he's going to ask you a bunch of questions about your dream and he'll take it from there. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Hi, Colleen.
Hello. So
Nice
a
to meet
backstory is that my daughter and her boyfriend bought the house that I grew up in from my father.
Okay.
My husband and I.
One more time, who were the people involved?
My daughter and her boyfriend.
And her boyfriend bought the house
that I grew up in.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I bought it from my father. Yes.
Oh, okay. So your father was still living there?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
And then they bought it and moved in.
Mm-hmm.
My husband and I went to drop off a gift to them. And it wasn't my house that I grew up in. I'm not sure what house we ended up in, but this is where they were. And we were in a living room, and in front of us was a child kitchen, and it was huge, like a big play kitchen. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, I don't know how they're going to undo that. And as I'm talking, a pipe starts leaking from the ceiling. So my daughter runs out of the room and says, we need a plumber. Her boyfriend comes in, who I do like, by the way. He came in and he's looking, and we're looking at the pipe, and it turns into a black snake and starts spewing water all over. My husband and I are not fazed by this. We're sitting there. I turn to my left and I see my father walking up the stairs. I had never seen him in the room. I didn't know he was still there. Her boyfriend then runs up the stairs to go get a plumber, I'm not sure, and knocks my father a little bit. But my father says nothing and is unfazed, keeps going. My husband and I are like, well, we're just sitting here all alone. Let's go. We go to leave. I put on my shoes. He had already went out the door, and something was holding me back from getting to that car. Like I could feel a force. It would not let me get to the car. And I heard kids playing, and it was pitch black, but I heard kids outside playing. And I remember thinking, why are they playing? It's pitch black out. I finally make it to the car. I get in, and there's an older gentleman with a driver's cap, with his hands on the steering wheel, staring forward. He doesn't talk. He doesn't look at me. He's not my husband. All of a sudden, I'm in a room, and there's a lot of people in this room, and there's a mother and a daughter sitting across from me. And the mother says to me, "Do you want her to fix this?" And I said, "Yes, please." And she started chanting, like making these noises, and she walked through a wall. And then all of a sudden, these beautiful white flowers came, like that's all I could see. And the feeling that
the internet froze for a second. Can you go back a couple sentences?
So I had asked the daughter, so the mother said, "Do you want my daughter to fix this?" I said, "Yes, please." And I saw all these beautiful white flowers. And that's all I could see. And it was a feeling that I had never had in my life before. It was just happiness and peace. And when they all disappeared, I was back in the car with my husband.
Okay.
And that's it.
That's where it ended.
That's where
That's a lot. That's a lot. So I invite you to maybe book a session for that, because there's a lot. I'm going to give you the cliff notes.
Okay, perfect.
So first off, this is your childhood home?
Yes.
Yes. Your father was still living in it until he sold it to them. Where did he then move to?
He moved in actually with his girlfriend to another town. Yeah.
Okay. So it was just the two of them living in the house. Now, when you go into the house in the dream, you're thinking to yourself, this is the house you grew up in, but then you get into it and you realize it's not the house.
Correct.
Visually. Okay.
Yep.
So when that happens in a dream, what's happening is you're being given a one-off from what actually is. For instance, if you were having an argument with your husband during the day, and then you dreamt in, that you were having a discussion about the same topic, but with Brad Pitt, right? The actor would be there specifically so that you would not have the same emotional reaction that it would be if your husband was there. In other words, your subconscious is saying, what if we put someone else saying the same thing here, or something similar? And then you'd be able to see it from a different angle. So if you're looking at this house from something other than the emotional connection of your childhood, you can see it in a different light. Okay.
Right.
How old is the house?
It is 50 years old.
Okay. So probably needs some repair.
Yes, it did. Yep.
Okay. So something like a plumbing leak would not be.
Nope. Not surprising.
Okay. But why the toy kitchen? And the answer is that, again, it's the same thing. The metaphor, it's not the real kitchen. There's no real leaking pipe.
Right.
It's just saying we're playing right now. We're going to come into this house. It's not really your house. It's not really their house, but they're moving into your old home. So let's talk about what can happen while they're there. We'll just play act the whole thing. So we see this miniature version of it. And then you and your husband are sitting there, and then there's this pipe that's leaking. So that's indicating a couple things. Number one is there's some kind of an emotion around this that needs to be released, and it's building up pressure. And so it's not allowing itself to come out, and therefore it's causing the pipe to leak. My guess is it's an old issue because it's an old pipe.
Right.
Okay. So it's something that's been there in the pipe a long time. And then it turns into a black snake. So why would it do that? But the snake itself is now spewing. So in other words, the darkness of the snake is the emotion, whatever caused the emotion over time, becoming more serious, perhaps deadly, depending on what kind of snake it is. And that it's spewing all of this water all over the place, meaning that the emotion is being released. So then the husband goes out to get a plumber. Your father's on the stairs. He goes up the stairs, knocks into your father, because in his mind, it's his house now. So your father is not there to him.
Right.
Okay? So in other words, think about what we're talking about here. Your father in that scene is ascending. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Meaning, and odds are he's not going upstairs to find a plumber. He was outside the house to find one. So he's going up because it's his home. Right. And he's getting up in age. You could use that metaphor. You could say ascending in life because he's moving on to the next phase. All of that's true. But then there's also your your daughter's husband who's now climbing the same stairs. Note the fact that the father goes first, then the husband. So he's following after him. He's now the master of the house.
Okay.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so that staircase is to indicate that now it's his. And so he kind of hits him, but he doesn't really knock him aside.
Right.
And his father is not fazed by it because he sold him the house.
Right.
So now we're back in the kitchen, and you and your husband are sitting there, and you're realizing that your role in this time's up. You don't need to be there anymore. This is something that your daughter and her husband need to deal with because it's now their house. So it's an acknowledgement of everything I just said. Then you get up and you go out. And then when you get to the car where you're expecting your husband, you see a total stranger, again, a substitute.
Yeah.
So that you're attached to it differently. And then what do you get into the front passenger, or do you get behind the driver? You get in front passenger.
Front passenger.
You would normally get with your husband driving.
Right.
Okay. So then part of what that's saying is you feel like whatever this issue is, you're here to witness it rather than own it. Rather than it being your emotional issue, you're here to witness whatever's going, because you're literally being brought along for this. Hence the show part. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And then repeat to me the very end of the dream.
So then I got out of the car and I ended up in this room, and I could hear a lot of people, but right in front of me, a little to the left.
Yes. Okay. I remember. So,
mom and daughter. Yes.
So again, where's the driver taking you? Well, he takes you to this room. Now in dreams, time, no physical laws apply. So you don't have to take the actual drive, but it's an indication that this is not your husband driving you. It's a guide. The guide gets you to the room. You're sitting with the mother and the daughter. Note the roles. The mother is not the one who is translating this for you. The daughter is.
Right.
You reflect the mother. Your daughter reflects the daughter.
Okay.
Okay. And then she's the one who's going to figure this out and give you the answer.
Correct.
So in other words, the answer to the leaking pipe, the answer to the emotional issue going back to the house that you grew up in is your daughter. Your daughter's issue. Okay. So whatever it is that she's going through emotionally is coming up in such a way that you are connecting with it because you have the same DNA. You're her mom. You have the same blood, right? And you're able to, like twins that know when each other is, what they're doing on opposite sides of the planet. You have a connection to her that is so deep that you're realizing that there's something she needs to deal with that she hasn't dealt with, and that it's connected to that house.
Okay. Very cool. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And if you want to follow up on this, if you want to get more detail on it, feel free to get in touch with me.
Wow, that was a long dream, Colleen. I thought we were going to go for like, what was that, like an 8-hour dream? It seemed like there was... All right.
We handled it pretty quickly.
You did. I mean, I was shocked. I'm like, oh my God, how are we even going to unpack this in an hour? But
well, and again, it's that's just a surface interpretation.
Right,
We're not getting into anything deep there. That's just the overall interpretation of this.
Well, again, what's fascinating to me from here, sitting here listening, is like, I'm thinking, we got a snake, we got a guy in a car, we got the flowers. I'm like, what in the heck?
I forgot about the flowers.
I'm trying to play along to fit. Oh yeah, the flowers were at the end.
Yeah, tell me about the flowers again. I missed that.
So
part.
when the mother said to the daughter, said, do you want her to help you? And I said, yes. And she walked through a wall and all these white flowers came. And I had this feeling of peace and happiness.
Yeah.
And then they all like popped away and I was back in the car and happy.
And your husband was sitting next to you.
And my husband was there again. Yeah.
Meaning that you had taken the journey that the chauffeur took you on, and then now you're back. But while you were gone, what you got to visualize through the daughter who was explaining it to you was that once you go through the wall, once you get on the journey of trying to find out what this is, the wall is just a block that somebody is subconsciously not wanting to look at an issue. And so when she looks at whatever this issue is and she faces it, there will be a peaceful outcome. But she needs to release this. This is something that if she holds on to it in the long run will be harmful to her. And so she's being invited to do it while it's still a leaky pipe and not a black snake.
Wow.
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. Thank you so very much.
See what I give you, Colleen?
I know you do.
I give. All right, Colleen. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Ooh, that
Yeah,
was a
that was
lot,
great.
huh?
That was good.
I love how you somehow pay attention to the whole thing and track it. How do you even? I'm lost. The black snake. I stopped there and I'm thinking, what the hell is
No,
this?
you can't allow yourself to be distracted by any one symbol. If you do, you're lost. There's just too many things going on. It's very hard to do sometimes because really, I'm just at that moment, I'm just a receiver. I'm listening to a radio show.
But you're not taking notes. How do you track it?
Well, I take them here because I'm channeling.
Wow,
I'm channeling.
that is impressive. Really impressive. Let me see who else is back here. Okay, here we go. I'll bring you on here. There she is.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Cool.
Okay, Laura, you're up next. I'm going to leave you in good hands here. Please, no black snakes and everything. It's just too confusing for me. So I'm going to jump off and leave you with Jefferson.
Yeah,
Okay.
We don't want to scare John.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you into the deep blue sea on this one. So about a few weeks ago, I had a dream that I was on a beach. And sorry, my dog's panting. It's not a ghoul in my back bedroom here. There was I was on the beach. It was a beautiful day, and I walked into the ocean, and I swam out to the point where I couldn't touch anymore. And this great white shark emerged and came out of the water, and he lunged at me, and he latched on to my right shoulder. And for some reason in the dream, I knew he wasn't going to hurt me. I just for some reason I just knew it. But he came real close, and his like dark black eye was like looking into my right eye, and he's looking at me and I'm looking at him. And for some reason in the dream, I knew he was trying to tell me something, and we were telepathically communicating, and he said, "I need to tell you something." And I looked at him, and I'm still like, he's still holding on, and I telepathically said back, "Well, what are you going to tell me?" And then I woke up. I woke up in a cold sweat, not knowing, and just a background. So I've dreamt about great white sharks since I was a teenager.
Wow.
I'm either looking at them in the water. I have a fear of deep water, murky water. I also have a fear of heights. I have a fear of flying, and I'm always looking down into the water from a boat, or I'm flying like Superman above the ocean looking down. But this was the first time that he actually attacked me, but he didn't attack me to kill me. He just attacked me to tell me something.
Did his teeth go into your shoulder?
What was that?
Did his teeth go into your shoulder?
No, it didn't hurt. There was no pain.
Okay. So that's a really important element in all of this, because look at what you're saying. I mean, if you were nibbled by a great white shark, if nothing else, the teeth would cut you, even if he didn't put enough pressure to bite and take your shoulder. These are razor sharp teeth that are just, I mean, basically you're looking at a Pac-Man mouth glomming onto your shoulder, but there's, these razor sharp fangs all the way around the circumference. So the only way that would happen is through a dream, because physically it would never happen. The second he put his mouth on your skin, you would bleed, but you didn't, meaning this shark is not a threat. So the question is, when you've had dreams about sharks in the past, were they always threats, or did you perceive them as threats, or were they also just messengers that, did not necessarily have something negative about them? Like, what was your perception of sharks in your earlier dreams?
Just that they were minding their own business, and I always wondered why I was seeing them. Sometimes I was in the water again with them, but they weren't paying any attention.
Yeah. So, and that's true of most sharks. If you're in the water with most sharks, they don't care what you're doing. They're eating the food they normally eat. It's a rarity when they do attack a human, and there's usually a specific reason for it. But in this case, it's a metaphoric shark. So the question is, when did you first have a dream with a shark in it? I think you said you were a teenager.
Yeah, I was late 20s. Or
Okay.
no, I'm sorry, late teens. So
Was
19,
there
20.
was there anything in particular about your life that would have indicated a shark at that time? Did you see Jaws? Were you,
I saw
Sharknado?
Jaws. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I've
Did you see
always
it around
been
that time?
I've always been fearful of them. I've always been in awe of them.
Mhm.
I am a huge animal lover, and I believe in
Mm.
protecting them. And I
Yeah.
truly think the movie Jaws kind of really put a stigma on them that they
Mhm.
have had a hard time to recover from, even
Mhm.
to this day.
Yeah.
People see a shark and great white, and oh my God, you're going to die. And
Right.
um,
Exactly. Yeah,
I
that
think
it's
that's
right.
the first thought, and but I will not go on a boat and like jump into deep water unless I can see the bottom. Like,
Mhm.
so I've had a fear of them, but a huge respect as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that's really what this is coming from. You are receiving messages from an archetype, from an animal archetype that is saying to you, um, you know, I know that you respect me, and I want to tell you something. And so the way that it does that is it grabs your shoulder. Why your shoulder? And what that leads me to believe is that there's some weight that you're carrying that is too much of a burden for you, and it's time to release it.
Yep, that makes total sense.
Yeah. And so if you were carrying the weight rather than the shark, where everybody's when you get into a situation like the one that you're in, everybody's Atlas, you know, but we're not Atlas. We're not meant to hold up the whole world, but we allow ourselves to get out of balance and to think that somehow we can solve everything, or whatever this is, we're gonna deal with it, even when it gets to the point where it's physically exhausting, where it's taxing your health, and you realize that no, I've been carrying this too long. I either need to get help carrying it or I need to let it go.
Yep.
And so
No,
the
I
shark,
totally agree.
and the
I'm going
shark is
through some personal stuff that I've been going through for about a year now that's been hugely unbearable.
exactly. Whereas the shark, especially a great white, what are they? I mean, they're scavengers, yeah, but they're the garbage dump, the garbage men of the sea. Their job is to just they take in everything and they clean. It's got like the little catfish on the side of your aquarium that keeps the walls of the aquarium from getting dirty because it eats all of the algae. Well, sharks do the same thing. They're literally there to just kind of like eat whatever's in front of them, and it gets rid of a lot of things that they clean up the ocean in a lot of ways. I mean, in terms of environmentally, ecologically, they're necessary. And so, what this symbol is saying to you is there's some stuff in your life that you need to get rid of. You need to let it go. That might be physical clutter. That might be a relationship. That might be a situation. It could be work. It could be a job that's not working out for you. It could be a relative that, whatever it is, and you're getting a very clear message that up until now, the shark has been not really paying attention to you, but now it is. And what it's saying is very specific. Time to let go.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. And if you want to continue the interpretation of the other shark dreams, there's a lot of information there that we can dive into as well.
Laura, I'm going to do some tough love here for you. Let it go. Let it go.
Is that Jabberjaw?
Yes, it is.
So
Thank you.
before we leave, Laura, I just want to say briefly that you mentioned a few phobias, and I also teach a workshop and I do private sessions in overcoming your phobias.
Okay.
Phobias are there because they're teachers. So if we think of them as friends who are there to teach us something, we have a different relationship with them. Now yours are all based in survival, but to be afraid of something like a shark, there's a specific archetype that's associated with that animal. What it really means is that there are things about how that animal lives its life that you wish you could
Hmm,
and that you're not doing,
interesting.
and that the message is there to say, what could I do like this creature that would make my life better.
Interesting point. Interesting point.
You know what's kind of interesting too, before she goes, again, from what I'm hearing and I'm listening to, and how you brought it kind of around, and it makes kind of sense, because originally, again, from my perspective, she was saying that everything was kind of peripheral. She was kind of just watching, observing. The shark was there, but never close by in her face. And now, like you said, these unresolved issues, now the shark is coming. Not
Literally
hurting you, but like showing you, I'm getting closer to maybe biting you, and everything coming up to a boil.
Yeah.
And if that were a human and they had a hand, what would they do? They'd tap you on the shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. Right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's very good point. Interesting.
Very interesting, though. Yeah. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate it. See you soon.
Thank you, Laura.
Happy Halloween. We have one more, and it's your friend Kathy. If you want to.
Oh, absolutely. Get her
time
on
for
here.
one more to fit. I don't know if her camera is on, though. Hold on.
Can we go a little past 9?
Sure. There she is. There she is. There she is. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I haven't seen you in.
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Good to see you.
Good to see
you
you.
Jefferson. I'm going to leave you in Jefferson's good hands and step out and listen to the dream.
Well, hi. It's a dream I had. It's been recurring for many years.
Okay.
And now, though, the last time I had it was a couple months ago, and it like added something to it. So it starts off where it's at my old house where I grew up in Fairfield. It's in the basement, but my basement in Fairfield was never finished off while I lived there. It was just a regular basement.
Actually, yeah. I think we talked about that in
we sort of, and now it's expanded. So that's why I'm like, so then it now moves over to my house in West Orange, which is a finished basement that had a built-in bar and everything. But the basement that in the dream is a humongous built-in bar, like it's at a resort, or it's just a humongous built-in bar that would never fit in that basement.
Okay.
And it has 2 doors behind the bar. When you go behind the bar to the right, you walk through, and it's now all of a sudden like a mine, almost a cave, however you want to say it. And there's actually spirits in there, but I can see them. Some are old-fashioned, I'd say probably from the 1700s, and others are more current. So I'm not afraid. I'm curious, obviously. But the next part that happened, which like totally doesn't make sense to me, is the next part is I'm now like flying in the air by kicking my feet.
Okay.
Which doesn't make sense. I'm in a basement and there's not room for that, but I'm flying and then all of a sudden I'm out in the sky.
Okay. Okay. So basically you're in the basement and you're standing, and then suddenly you start to move your feet and you're flying, and now you're outside. Is there a transition? Do you go through a door to get outside, or you just?
No, I'm just there. Just there.
Yeah, that's just the dream.
And it's blue skies with a few clouds.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
That's it. Do you know where you're flying to? Do you see anything while you're flying? No. Okay. It's just the transition from being in the basement to being up in the air. Okay. What's going on with you these days?
Busy, stressed.
About?
Well, personal with my daughter. Just things that I'm a person that likes everything in order. And I don't like disorder. So I seem to be having disorder with something that's, with the Para Unity Expo coming up, and I had plans for that. And then my daughter's going to Puerto Rico, and his mother was supposed to watch the dogs, and now she bailed. So I'm going to be basically running between New Jersey and New York for the next week. So, my daughter feels bad about it, but it is what it is. And I'm just, like I said, I like order.
Yeah. Yeah. So bars have a lot of order, don't they? I mean, everything is on a shelf and it's all in a particular place so that you know where to turn around and look for it and grab it. So the bar represents the order. And what do you do when you get to a bar? You order something, right? So that reflects that. I find the two doors to the mine very interesting because you and I both went to the Sterling Mine with John and Chris.
Yes, we did.
And you've been there many times since. So you have so to speak, a deep connection with that mine and how haunted it is. And we've both had experiences where we've either been physically touched or somehow connected. As a matter of fact, when I was there, we were in the office, and one of them, we actually heard your name through one of the machines that John was using.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, there's you have a connection with them. You have the ability to see them in a way that others don't. Even if you don't physically see them in your waking state, you can obviously see them in your dream state. Why are you seeing them here? Well, first off, you have the basement in Fairfield, which you first mentioned, which is unfinished, right? So you're talking the basement, meaning below the ground, same thing as a mine. And then you have these spirits that are within that. So this story goes all the way back to the house in Fairfield. But it's evolved since then because now it's in the house in Orange. And even there it's evolved because now the bar is bigger than it would be normally. And as you said, something, almost tropical, like in terms of the size and the style of the bar. But connected to that bar, which you'd never see in the tropics, is these two doors going down into a mine. So you have a lot of mixed metaphors going on here. And what they're saying to you is you're trying to kind of piece everything together and put it in order, but you're having difficulty doing that. The good news is at the end of the dream, you do, because what you realize is that the way to really set this all in order is to rise above it, to let it go. You're holding on to something that you can't control. And by doing that, you're making yourself crazy. In other words, whatever your daughter's going to do, she's going to do. Whatever the other players in this drama may be, they're going to do. You have no control over their behavior, over their timing, over how much they're actually willing to put into it. That's all for them to do. And so it pokes you in the ribs in that area where you like control. And so you're trying to sort that out. And the place you try and do that is the basement where the bar is, because the bar would be where you'd go to relax. But instead of it being relaxing, what you're looking at is you're looking at your journey to the past and how you're connected with all of this. And that, you have an ancestral connection, that you have a connection to the deep earth, that you have a connection to order itself. And order is what? It's nature. That's what nature is. Well, if you're in order with nature, then you probably can fly. Because you're in the present moment, you're in balance. And so what the dream is saying is get yourself in order, because you're the one that needs to be in order, not them. The problem here is not that your daughter isn't doing something. The problem is that you're perceiving that somehow that harms you. And so that then changes your experience of your day from one of joy to one of concern or stress or however it plays out. And so what you want to do instead is you want to reroute that, understanding that as you get yourself in order, she'll probably get herself in order because she'll reflect.
Okay. Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm sure once all this passes, once we get past Para-Unity and her coming back from Puerto Rico, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
How dare she? How dare she go away during Para-Unity, Kathy?
I know.
You give me her number. I'll cancel that trip for her.
And you mentioned Puerto Rico. That's why the bar is in a tropical setting. Like you're seeing yourself as going to where you're going and bringing all of this with you, as opposed to going to where you're going and actually having a vacation and relaxing. So that's why you want to be the Kathy that's flying. And not
sidebar, real quick, Kathy. If your obligation is not an obligation to us.
Oh, no.
If you can't do that, it's completely
I can.
fine. Okay.
I can. Okay. I've got it all worked out. Trust me.
Okay. I'm
looking
just saying.
Forward to, this is my joy.
Gotcha.
Going to Para-Unity and doing what I'm doing there is
it
my
is.
joy.
We talk about it all the time.
Okay. Just want to make sure. I don't want you to think
no. I would have said something.
I don't think that Kathy and I have ever had a conversation where you and Chris don't come up.
Oh.
Yeah. All good. All good.
I was going to say, being a bad way, Chris in a good way,
we love you.
is the way it usually works.
All good.
But I'm hoping that you're going to somehow, trip somebody on their way into the Para-Unity Expo, so I can be one of them.
I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that, Kathy. Whatever happens, whatever
I'm
happens.
totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. but
All right,
I
Kathy.
would
I'm
love to
gonna
be there.
take you off
Thank
the
you.
show. Happy
Thank you,
Halloween,
Kathy.
Kathy. So, 4 Jefferson. Now I think that's maybe the most you've ever done. And
Oh no, I've done 4 before in
Okay.
one of them. Yeah.
I purposely look for different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I try to give
Yeah,
you just a little taste of. I read the dream, then I'm like, okay, that one's different than that one. That one's
Yeah.
because I am curious to why. I'm as fascinated as everybody else when they watch this and they hear where it goes. The shark thing, I never in a million years would have seen that one. And the snake pipe, I'm like, what? But tell people how to get in touch with you again, because I'm sure a lot of these people now are watching and are thinking of their dreams. And here's the thing: before you do that, Jefferson gave me a really, really good technique, and he mentioned it before. Dreams. I have a lot of dreams, and I literally, those dreams you wake up and you're like, what? Or you're like upset or whatever. And I try to hold on to like, God, I got to remember this. And I do make a habit now of grabbing my phone and talking and recording them. And when we do this again, I have another one that I wouldn't do tonight. It's very upsetting to me. It's about my mom, but that's for another time. Okay. But again, if there is a dream and it sticks, you wake up, try to record it somehow. And if you want to get a reading from Jefferson, he'll tell you how.
Yeah. So you can read my website everydayastrology.com. And my number is 839-9317. And we can just put that in the show notes too, in the comments, so that you'll be able to get in touch with me there. And I'm also on Facebook, so feel free. I'll comment after the show, so feel free to connect with me. Send me a friend request. I always love to hear from people that are connected with New Jersey Paranormal.
And I will. I'll go back after this is done and it posts. I'll put all of his information above the video, so you can just click on it and just directly contact him. But again, we've known Jefferson for it's been a few years now, and I have never, again, there hasn't been a night where we've done this that I've said, he just kind of, put through it and just gave general kind of antidotes for each thing. Every time we've done this, it's been like, I'm impressed every time. And I'm being honest. I am every time.
I really appreciate that, John. Thank you.
Well, Jefferson, happy Halloween to you. And
Halloween.
Hopefully we'll see you down the road at some point.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
If I don't Kathy trips anybody, I'll let you know.
Right. If I don't see you at the expo, then have a great time. If there is a cancellation, I would love to be there, because it's just such a great. If people don't know about it, the Para Unity Expo, you must go. It's just such a great experience.
Whew, it's gonna be crazy. Thank you, Jefferson. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Best of luck with it, John. Bye-bye.
So that's it, guys. The day before Halloween, dream interpretation. Jefferson never, ever, ever disappoints. I thank everyone here for participating. Very nice of you and brave of you to share the things that you share, Pat, especially you. Again, my heart goes out to you. Condolences. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm tired, but Chris is tired as well. But I am in the back of my brain thinking of a Halloween something, but I don't know, because the expo is literally Friday and we have stuff to do. So I don't know, probably 30% chance that I might do something tomorrow from the Creeper Gallery. Don't know. But as usual, thank you guys for watching. I'll post Jefferson's information. We'll be back at some point before the expo just to do a wrap up of the whole entire weekend. We had a lot going on this weekend. But thank you guys for watching. Thanks as always for your support. And remember, Para Unity this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, Woodbridge High School. Ghost Hunters, Ghost Brothers, Project Fear, Chip Coffee, Cody Satori, Steve DeShavi, lots of people will be there. Only $25 admission. Tickets available at the door. Hopefully we'll see you guys there. Have a good night, everyone. And if I don't see you, have a very happy and safe Halloween. Take care.